wherever you want to stand. You're the governor. You're the governor. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for your attendance. Let's get everybody to settle down. Oh, they're coming up? Okay, good. All right. Well, thank you. Today we welcome our great governor and great friend, the City of Philadelphia, Governor Wolf, and Planned Parenthood, to City Hall, in order to raise awareness about the dangerous consequences of Senate Bill 3 for women's health, or against women's health. I truly can't believe we are still having this debate. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of women's health decades ago. At the time, the ruling was hailed as the end of a tragic era in which back alley abortions took the lives of innumerable mothers, sisters, and daughters. But tragically, some legislators are still trying to keep safe and legal abortions out of reach. SB3 seeks to circumvent the Supreme Court's ruling by enacting some of the most extreme legislation against women's health in the country, and that's not hyperbole. This legislation could be so devastating to women's health that Republican state legislators refused to allow a single individual to testify at the hearing. No medical professionals, no advocates, nobody against the bill. It just was a star chamber action that got rammed through in a very undemocratic way. So today we are going to share with Pennsylvanians what those legislators did not want anyone to hear. And I just, coming in to prepare for it's not funny, but it made me chuckle. I was looking at YouTube and I was watching Spencer Tracy's speech at the end of Inherit the Wind. And he talked about marching backward into history. And it just made me think about what has been going on in this Commonwealth and in this country in the last month or more, marching backwards into history, and with flags unfurled, like we're all proud of what we're doing here. It is just unconscionable, not only in the area of women's health, but in immigration. I don't understand, again, what a legislator or senator from Western Pennsylvania or Central Pennsylvania cares who lives in Philadelphia. They certainly don't care about educating our kids, so I don't see why they would care about anything else. Before I go further off than further off, with the exception of certain people. Anyway, so I will stop there. And who is next up on that? Karen? Yeah. Please, let's hear from some folks that wanted to testify at that hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Kenny. My name is Karen Agate, and this never gets easier, but I hope you guys can bear with me. So in July of 2015, I found out I was pregnant for the first time. My husband and I were thrilled. Our dreams of becoming a family were starting, and everything was full of hope and promise. Because of my age, I opted for advanced genetic screening, which ruled out any major chromosomal abnormalities and confirmed the exciting news that we were having a girl. By the time we got to our 20-week ultrasound, we had named her Evelyn and even purchased a crib the weekend before. Within 10 minutes of our scan, we knew something was wrong. Our sonogram technician became quiet, and a high-risk doctor came into the room to confirm our worst fears, that something was very wrong. He sat us down and told us that Evelyn had what he believed to be skeletal dysplasia, or in more basic terms, dwarfism. Before we could even process what that meant for our family, the doctor explained that this wasn't a typical form of dwarfism, but a form that was so severe, our baby's chances of survival were incompatible with life. 2 days later, we went to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia for a second opinion. We saw a team of the best specialists in the country who confirmed what the other doctor had told us, that Evelyn would not survive. She had thanatophoric dysplasia, a rare and spontaneous mutation that is not only lethal, but would be incredibly painful for her as she developed. Evelyn's lungs would not be able to grow inside of her too small chest, which meant she could die inside of me within days or weeks. Or if she went all the way to term, she would be left grasping for the air that she would never breathe on her own. She might live for a few hours at best, or a few days, and would be suffering the entire time. In our frantic research, we learned that the direct translation of thanatophoric dysplasia is death-bearing, and that knowledge was not lost on us. All the hopes and dreams that we had for Evelyn died that day, along with the dream of our new family. We mourned her and the family we thought that we would be. As her mother, it was my job to plan for her to have the best possible quality of life, but I could not continue to plan for her to have no quality of life. My husband and I made the heartbreaking choice to terminate my pregnancy and let Evelyn be at peace. It was the only decision we would have to make for her as parents. At 21 weeks of gestation, I had an abortion so that my daughter would not have to suffer. Less than 3 months later, I conceived, and today I have a healthy 3.5-month-old son who is the light of my life. If SB3 was a law during my first pregnancy, I would not have my son in my arms today. Late-term abortion is not a black and white issue. It's much more complicated than that. It's not something any mother wants to go through, and it's certainly not something that's easy to talk about no matter how much time goes by. But I continue to tell my story to oppose dangerous bills like SB3 because I know how they would impact women like me, women like you, families like yours. Every day, states across the country are passing more and more restrictions that would threaten the health, well-being, and fertility of women. Every day, legislators are trying to force decisions on women they don't know about circumstances they could never understand. Every day, I hear anti-choice rhetoric about the value of life. But know this, no one valued the life of my daughter more than I did. Abortion isn't just about the decision to become a parent. It's often a parenting decision. And SB3 stands in the way of loving parents being able to make the decisions they believe are best for their babies and their families. Thank you to Governor Wolf and Mayor Kenney for trusting women to decide for themselves. I'd like to introduce you to my friend, Dr. Erica Goldblatt Hyatt.
I am a college professor and a published author in the field of bereavement, yet I was fully unprepared to face the deepest grief imaginable in the summer of 2012 when I was 5 months pregnant with my first child. My husband and I went to our ultrasound appointment for a peek at our growing baby. Excited to learn whether I would be painting a nursery pink or blue, I was also lost in the hopes and dreams of what being a mother meant, of swaddles and bouncers and watching a brand new life grow into a real person. I could not have imagined that on that day, I would join a club that nobody wants to be a part of, winning a jackpot that most refuse to imagine. I would learn information that would secure my spot among the less than 2% of women who terminate a pregnancy after 20 weeks gestation. Prior ultrasounds revealed a healthy and growing baby, but this was no longer the case. We were shocked to learn that our baby had never developed an airway or trachea. His disorder, congenital high airway obstruction syndrome, appears on a spectrum, and his case was most severe and therefore fatal. The absence of a trachea resulted in the buildup of amniotic fluid inside of our son's body with no exit point to expel it back into the womb. Under the pressure of this fluid, his diaphragm was inverted, inflating his lungs to over double their size and literally crushing his heart more and more every day the pregnancy continued. We were given 3 options: wait for the baby to die of heart failure in the womb, as was predicted, but we didn't know when that could happen; attempt to carry to term and deliver a stillborn, or in the best case, brain-dead baby; or terminate the pregnancy. Determined to find a chance of survival for the son we named Darby, we consulted specialists and dutifully attended consultations that included fetal MRIs, ultrasounds, fetal echocardiograms, genetic testing, and more, only to be told that ours was a case that could not be fixed. I remember every pair of sympathetic eyes, from social worker to fetal surgeon, meeting my own hopeful gaze as they shared the news that Darby was dying and it was only a matter of when. We loved and wanted Darby, but had to face reality that his was already a life of suffering with a certain ending. Every time I felt him kick, I was reminded that his was a future without hope. Bitterly, I cursed my body for failing him in its inability to keep him safe and healthy, tortured as I imagined what he was experiencing as he continued to live and die simultaneously inside of me. After much deliberation, my husband and I chose a path that we felt would bring Darby the most peace, despite knowing that we would be forced to live with the deep pain and subsequently stigma of it for the rest of our lives. We made the decision to end the pregnancy. On August 3rd, 2012, I went from pregnant to bereaved in a matter of hours. Women in my circle call our experience a heartbreaking choice. Some who have never walked our path are judgmental, with hypothetical, imagined responses to encountering a scenario like ours that often seems so binary, so black and white, when the lived reality is filled with shades of gray. I know the truth as it happened, and I stand strong in knowing that my beautiful son was freed from pain and suffering, from the limitations of a body that would not serve him. I stand strong in continuing to honor Darby's legacy in the hopes that our experience will provide education and better understanding about why women like me end pregnancies after 20 weeks. I stand strong and determined to extend my hand and heart to the next woman faced with this decision, hoping that she is held and supported not only by her family and friends, but ultimately politicians who may be involved in legislation about her access to abortion care. I hope she is treated with as much dignity and respect as I was by the compassionate care team that guided me through the termination process and who continued to bring my healthy babies into the world, including the one that will be born in March. I am grateful for the one element of control I had in an otherwise powerless situation, the decision to end our pregnancy and with it our son's pain and suffering. This is the paradox I learned of being a mother, in my case loving my son so deeply that it meant choosing to say goodbye. Though that choice rests on my heart every day, I know it was the right one for our family, and I'm grateful to live in a state where our governor supports the right of women like me to make it autonomously with those who know and love her best. Thank you. I'd now like to introduce Dr. Srinivas.
Good afternoon. As an obstetrician specializing in high-risk pregnancies, I have helped many women and families facing some of the most difficult decisions of their lives, as you've just heard. I have diagnosed women with cancer during their pregnancy, treated women with severe heart disease, and detected fetal abnormalities that are not compatible with life. In all of these cases, women face the difficult decision to potentially end their pregnancy. And in some cases, they needed to do this for their own health. Senate Bill 3, if enacted, would compromise the safety of my patients. This bill, if enacted, would violate the doctor-patient relationship. It would impose the most extreme restrictions on abortion in this country. It would ban abortions after 20 weeks, when most significant fetal anomalies are detected. And it would actually go further than that and ban and criminalize one of the safest methods of second trimester abortions even as early as 15 weeks. Let me say this again because I think these facts are missing from the public debate. This bill would do two things. First, it would ban nearly all abortions after 20 weeks, even for mothers whose health would be in danger. Second, it bans a procedure, the safest medical procedure for mothers even earlier than 20 weeks, as early as 15 weeks. So this bill is not a 20-week ban. It is much earlier than that. Also, the bill uses language that is imprecise to describe what is allowed and what is not allowed. It will send a shiver through the medical community about how to interpret it and whether a doctor could be prosecuted simply because the meaning of the law is unclear and fails to use accepted medical terminology. As a practicing obstetrician specializing in high-risk pregnancies, I am frustrated and disappointed at how our elected officials are moving forward with this bill without any input from doctors. In no other field of medicine would it be acceptable for politicians to dictate how doctors practice medicine. This bill puts politicians squarely between doctors and their patients, and it's simply irresponsible. These are truly heartbreaking, emotional conversations that I have had with patients and their families, and I am honored to always be a part of that conversation. However, this bill does not honor that conversation. It violates it. And women in Pennsylvania deserve safe, compassionate, evidence-based care, and Senate Bill 3 will definitely get in the way of that. It's my honor and privilege to introduce someone that's been a strong advocate and has stood by us on this issue and has been an advocate for women and women's health issues all along. It's my honor to introduce Governor Wolf.
Wow. I can't imagine that there is anyone here who has not been moved by what these women have said. And their testimonials today, I just wish that the Senate had allowed them to testify in Harrisburg before rushing this bill through. But they did. They rushed it through. And so let me be very, very clear. If Senate Bill 3 reaches my desk, I will veto it. Let me be clear in one other way. I am not doing this to make a political point. I'm not doing this to actually highlight the difference between two groups of people in Harrisburg. I'm doing it because a veto is right. It's morally right. Pennsylvania is not and cannot afford to be a place where women cannot make their own health care decisions. We cannot afford that. I think you've also heard ample testimony from mothers who have gone through this as to why this right, this freedom, is absolutely essential to making life as full as it can possibly be, right here in Pennsylvania. So we need to make sure that we preserve in Pennsylvania the right, the tradition, our heritage of freedom of conscience, that people here are free to choose. And when they come to Pennsylvania, when people live here, let's make sure we let the world know that this is a place that values choice, it values women, and it values their ability and their freedom to make the choices that they need to make. Pennsylvania has always been a place that celebrates that. And so, once again, this is not who Pennsylvania is. It's not who we are as people. It's not who I am as an individual. It's certainly not who I am as governor, and I will not allow this bill to become law. So please join me in asking the House of Representatives to actually give some due process to this bill as it makes its way through the House of Representatives. Let's also pay tribute to the Philadelphia Senate delegation for unanimously voting no on this Senate Bill 3 in the Senate. Again, let me just say it a third time. Should this misguided and restrictive policy reach my desk, I will veto it. And I will veto any legislation that serves only to restrict the personal and medical choices available to women in Pennsylvania. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I think we'll all be happy to take questions from the press, or wherever you'd like us to take those questions. But thank you all for being here.